Hello everyone, and welcome to Travel Curiosities. Today, we're exploring a place that captivates and intrigues us with its ancient traditions, surprising customs, and a unique form of government. Eswatini, a small kingdom in southern Africa where, according to an ancestral tradition, the king selects some of his wives during a special dance in which thousands of girls perform wearing almost no clothing. Before we delve into this culture, so different from our own, I want to ask you a question. Have you ever wondered what it's like to live in a place where the monarchy is absolute and polygamy is accepted? If you want to learn more, subscribe to the channel right now and leave a like to support Travel Curiosities. Now, let's uncover the 12 key stages of this journey through Eswatini, a nation smaller than Belgium but incredibly rich in history, culture, and striking contrasts. Chapter 1: Discovering a little-known kingdom. Eswatini is often overlooked on tourist maps. Many travelers prefer to focus on more famous nearby destinations, such as South Africa or Mozambique, yet this small kingdom hides cultural and natural treasures worth exploring. Located in the heart of southern Africa, with an area of about 17,000 square kilometers, Eswatini is considered the smallest country in the southern hemisphere. In the past, the nation was known worldwide as Swaziland, a name that directly referenced the predominant ethnic group, the Swazi. However, in 2018, on the 50th anniversary of independence from British rule, the king decided to adopt a name that was more authentic and representative, announcing that the country would be called Eswatini, meaning the land of the Swazi, in the local language. The population mainly consists of the Swazi, a Bantu people who, centuries ago, migrated from the northern part of the African continent to the southern region. They brought with them warrior traditions, a profound connection with their ancestors, and a way of life that endures today despite external pressures. Understanding Eswatini means immersing oneself in the interwoven tapestry of history, customs, and faith that guide its daily life. Chapter 2: Historical Roots and Swazi Identity. The history of Eswatini is inextricably linked to the formation and rise of the Swazi people. Their identity began to take shape between the 18th and 19th centuries, when different clans came together under the leadership of monarchs capable of defending their territory from outside threats, building a unified and combative spirit. During the 19th century, as colonial expansion progressed, this region came under British influence. The Swazi, however, never lost their desire to safeguard their sovereignty, and their cultural resilience remained constant. Even today, in villages and during public ceremonies, Swazi men wear leopard skins and traditional ornaments that evoke the memory of their warrior ancestors. What stands out is a strong sense of identity and belonging that goes far beyond mere folklore. The transition from colonial rule to independence, officially declared in 1968, was marked by King Sobhuza II. During his extraordinarily long reign, which lasted 82 years, the country underwent radical changes, yet remained faithful to certain cultural foundations. The king retained almost total control over the country, consolidating the political structure that still characterizes Eswatini, the Absolute Monarchy. Chapter 3: Absolute Monarchy. How power works. Unlike many other African nations, Eswatini has never truly abandoned the traditional power structure centered on the monarch. Currently, King Mswati III reigns, having ascended to the throne after the death of Sobhuza II. He is the main authority in political, economic, and social matters for this small state, and his position is virtually unassailable. Political parties are forbidden, which means popular participation in government is extremely limited, and every major decision falls under the monarch's will. Some see this system as a remnant of the past, struggling to reconcile with modernity, while others defend it as a symbol of Swazi identity. One thing is certain: the king's power goes far beyond ceremonial duties. In an absolute monarchy, decisions are not subject to the scrutiny of an elected parliament. The king's vision on issues such as polygamy, land ownership, and the role of tradition becomes law. This aspect stirs both internal and external debates, especially in a globalized world where constitutional democracies are widespread. Despite international pressure to become more open, Eswatini still follows its own course, remaining one of the few countries in the world that has preserved an absolute monarchy intact. Chapter 4: Polygamy and the famous reed dance. One of the most well-known, and often controversial, aspects of Swazi culture is polygamy. King Mswati III currently has 14 wives and over 30 children, embodying that ancient custom in which a man can have multiple spouses, provided he can support them adequately. In a traditional society where wealth is also measured by how many cows one owns, livestock becomes the main form of dowry. However, polygamy is most visible during the celebration of Umhlanga, also known as the Reed Dance, an annual rite dedicated to the Queen Mother, but which also offers the king the opportunity to find potential new spouses. Thousands of young girls, often described as virgins, come from across the country to dance in very revealing traditional attire. Their breasts are often exposed, and although their clothes are colorful and full of symbolism, they leave very little covered. During this festival, the girls dance before the king and the royal court in a spectacular display of music and movement that, for the Swazi, symbolizes the celebration of feminine identity and cultural continuity. Before we continue our journey, I'd like to know your opinion. What do you think of this tradition? Do you believe it's a cultural practice worth preserving, or is it at odds with our modern sensibilities? Take a moment and share your thoughts in the comments below. It's a great way to support Travel Curiosities, and let us know if you find this custom fascinating, shocking, or questionable. Chapter 5 Cows as a medium of exchange and prestige. If polygamy is one of the most visible markers of Swazi culture, another fundamental aspect is the measurement of wealth and social status. In Eswatini, cows are central to many transactions and also serve as a symbol of prosperity for a man. The more cows you own, the more influential you are. When a family wants their son to marry, they typically offer a certain number of cattle as a dowry to the family of the bride-to-be. This ancient custom, known as labala in various parts of southern Africa, is not just a ritual gesture but a concrete act that seals the union between two families, strengthening social ties and ensuring mutual benefit. Owning a large number of cows allows a man to enter into multiple marriages, further boosting his social prestige. However, the outside world often views this tradition with skepticism, dismissing it as a relic of the past. Even within Swazi society, criticism emerges, especially from younger people seeking work in urban areas, where modern dynamics are less anchored to rural customs and the idea of wealth measured in livestock. Chapter 6 The Two Faces of Eswatini. Tradition and modernity. One truly interesting aspect of Eswatini is its dual identity. On the one hand, it has strong traditional roots. Villages where cows are raised using ancient methods, festivals with sacred and ceremonial dances, and profound respect for the king and queen mother, who symbolize temporal and spiritual power. On the other, especially in the cities of Mbabane and Manzini, you can see the influence of globalization. Young people use smartphones, engage on social networks, and listen to pop music. The economy itself is undergoing a process of hybridization. Alongside traditional agriculture, Eswatini has developed commercial activities, particularly in crafts and tourism, attracting visitors intrigued by its unique cultural identity. However, this modernization remains slow and challenging. Many citizens yearn for better infrastructure, healthcare, and education, but the shift toward a more open model encounters hurdles in local politics, given that an absolute monarchy does not encourage participatory debate. Eswatini is therefore a country in a precarious balance, still seeking the ideal formula to reconcile tradition and progress. Chapter 7 Fauna. A close encounter with the white rhino in a continent renowned for extraordinary biodiversity, Eswatini provides a unique experience for nature lovers, especially at the Lane Royal National Park. Here, animal conservation is a priority, with particular attention to white rhinos, majestic creatures at risk of extinction due to poaching. Observing these giants as they move through the park's vast grasslands is an unforgettable experience. Silence fills with anticipation, broken only by the sounds of the savannah, until the imposing silhouette of a rhino appears on the horizon. Striking a balance between tourism and conservation is a delicate challenge. On one hand, international visitors boost the local economy and increase awareness of the need to protect these species. On the other hand, it's vital that wildlife encounters occur in a respectful manner, without endangering the animal's well-being or fueling dangerous poaching practices. Eswatini's authorities invest considerable energy in monitoring and patrols, as the white rhino is regarded as a true national treasure. Chapter 8 Festivals, Spiritual Rites, and the Importance of Ancestors. In a land like Eswatini, spirituality is woven into every aspect of daily life. In addition to the Umhlanga, there are numerous annual festivals celebrating the harvest, the fertility of the land, and the bond with ancestors. The Swazi believe that the spirits of the departed remain in constant contact with the living, offering guidance and assistance in difficult times. That is why many rites include offerings of food or traditional beverages, offered with prayers asking for protection and abundance. These ceremonies involve the entire community, coming together in songs and dances full of meaning. In some cases, the king or queen mother assumes a spiritual role, ensuring continuity between the present and ancient traditions. The pride in these celebrations, which often captivates visitors, holds the community together, strengthening their sense of belonging. For younger generations, these festivals are an opportunity to connect with the roots of their people, rediscovering costumes, ritual foods, and epic stories that shape Swazi identity. It's as if time slows down, allowing a glimpse into the collective soul of a nation that's tiny yet tightly bonded. Chapter 9: Safety and Practical Advice for Travelers. For those wishing to visit Eswatini in person, the country is generally safe, although caution is advised, particularly in urban areas at night. Political tensions tied to demands for democratic reforms have led, in recent years, to demonstrations and protests, sometimes repressed with harsh measures. Before traveling, it's wise to research the local situation through official sources, avoid protest areas, and rely on trustworthy guides if you plan to explore remote regions. The main airport is in Manzini, but many visitors enter by land from South Africa, taking advantage of well-connected border crossings. Once inside, taxis and shared minivans are the most common forms of transportation, though renting a car can offer more freedom. As for visas, citizens of many Western countries can enter without special procedures for up to 30 or 90 days, but it's always a good idea to verify requirements before departure. The official currency is the Lilangeni, pegged to the South African rand, which is widely accepted. Chapter 10: Cuisine and Everyday Life. The cuisine of Eswatini, though not as globally famous as other African culinary traditions, features genuine and simple flavors rooted in local farming. One of the best-known dishes is inkwala, a stew of meat cooked with local spices, often served with cornmeal or sorghum. Corn is a staple crop, forming the basis of dishes like mbila, a maize porridge, an essential part of everyday meals for many village residents. Much of the population still lives in rural areas, where daily life revolves around farming and livestock. Families support each other, sharing the fruits of their land and passing on knowledge from generation to generation. Urban centers, on the other hand, offer a more dynamic lifestyle with bars, restaurants, clothing stores, and many opportunities for young people to socialize. Yet even in the cities, there remains a visible strong bond with tradition. National holidays, visits to ancestral villages, and rites of passage are important events in the lives of people who, even as they look to the future, strive not to lose the values of the past. Chapter 11: The Political Context and Future Prospects. The internal political debate in Eswatini is very complex. On one side is an elite tied to the monarchy, seeing the king as the supreme guardian of national unity and tradition. On the other, several critical voices call for greater democratic openness, the recognition of political parties, and a fairer distribution of resources. Over the last decade, protests have intensified, especially among young people and public sector workers who demand better wages and more civil rights. The king has occasionally implemented minor reforms, such as consultations for parliament, but these assemblies hold limited power. The future of Eswatini could take many paths, continuing with the current system, gradually opening up to the wider world, or facing more serious unrest if the protests grow. What appears certain is that the Swazi people will continue to defend their cultural heritage, keeping traditions, rituals, and social codes that have always formed the kingdom's spirit. Chapter 12: Personal Conclusions. We've reached the end of this long journey into the heart of Eswatini. I've shared stories, curiosities, and reflections on a nation that, despite its small size, harbors an age-old heritage and traditions that evoke both wonder and debate. Personally, I find it fascinating how these people manage to preserve such a strong bond with their past, resisting the push for conformity that characterizes modern society. However, I can't help but wonder whether, in the not-too-distant future, this form of absolute monarchy and certain practices, such as formal polygamy or the reed dance, may come into direct conflict with a world inclined toward values of equality and individual freedom. It's an open question that only time can answer. Meanwhile, if this video has piqued your curiosity and helped you discover something new, I invite you once again to leave a comment below. Tell me, how did it feel to immerse yourself in such a different context from our own? Also, remember to give a thumbs up to support Travel Curiosities, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Your feedback helps us improve and find new, unusual destinations to share with you. Thank you so much for watching this video. We'll see you soon with more adventures and new discoveries from around the world. See you next time, and greetings from Travel Curiosities.